Hi everyone! In this video, I'm going to be talking about my 5 top favorite houseplants, and these 5 top favorite houseplants are definitely 5 plants that I would recommend for beginners. So if you are interested in plants at all, keep watching this video. So we are going to talk all about these plants. I have over 20 different types of plants in my house right now, but I have narrowed it down to 5. So I definitely think I did a good job on this. Some of these are underrated, so if you want to be a plant mama and don't know what plant to get, I think I have some good suggestions for you. Alright, so for my first favorite houseplant, it has to be the golden pothos. So I have this plant right over here. It lives right in front of my kitchen. The goal is to have it grow over my kitchen. With time, it might do that. So I love this plant so much because it is very low maintenance. It doesn't need a lot of light. If you do give it a lot of light, it will grow a lot more. So I have a couple of these golden pothos actually. I have this one right here. I have one growing on top of my fridge, and then I also have one closer to my balcony, and then I have a couple propagations in the bathroom, and then 2 more plants which I also propagated. So this is what I mean by propagation. You can actually cut this beautiful plant and form some new little plants with the cuttings. So this is an example of one cutting, and in this video I will also show you how to propagate.
The first step when propagating plants is of course to cut it. So you just want to cut down the stem, making sure you don't cut any nodes, so that just means cutting between 2 leaves. Here is the stem. Now you might be thinking, why the heck will I want to cut my plants? First of all, you can make more plants by doing this, and it induces more growth from the plant that is being cut, sort of like getting a haircut. The next step after we have our stem filled with leaves is to cut it even more. So those brown bulbous things are called nodes. We want to cut in between each of those nodes. So I'm going to separate each leaf that contains a node, and then when I'm done, I will put those into water. So now you can just leave these cuttings in water for about 2 to 3 weeks. You want your roots to be at least 2 to 3 inches, and then once they've reached that length, you can now transplant the cuttings into soil. But that's pretty much it. You can just leave them in water. You can let the roots grow even longer than 3 inches. It really doesn't matter. Just make sure that the water stays clean, and that's all there really is to it.
So I cut the plant, and now it is growing its own little roots. And then when these roots get long enough, I will pot them into soil, and then it will turn into its own little plant. So this is actually a propagated golden pothos. It's growing its own little vine. This one also is a propagated pothos, and it is growing like 3 different vines, and I'm pretty proud of myself that I was able to do this. You guys can do this too. Just make sure your roots are long enough. Make sure you water it, and make sure you just give it some love. Alright, so my second favorite plant is the Monstera Deliciosa. So this is the beautiful Monstera Deliciosa. When I bought it for the first time, it did not look like this. It was a lot smaller, and it has just grown so much. The main reason why I love this plant so much is also because it is very low maintenance, and because it is easy to propagate. This plant, like the golden pothos, it has nodes, such as this node right here. If you cut the plant right here, you can form a whole new Monstera Deliciosa. So you can just put that little node in water, let it grow its roots, and then plant it into soil, and then you'll have a brand new plant. Okay, I did it. This is a cutting. I probably should have made it, maybe have done it a little bit longer, but here we have it. For my third favorite plant, it has got to be the Monstera Adansonii. This is the Monstera Adansonii right here. When I first bought this plant, it was definitely not this big. It was a little cutting that I bought on Etsy. I bought it for like $12, and this plant at the nursery is about $50. So I just bought the little cutting, and I was like, I'm gonna grow this plant myself. So I've attached this moss pole to it so it can grow up, because it was just growing one vine and going kind of crazy. Reasons why this Monstera Adansonii is such a perfect plant is because again, it is pretty low maintenance. I don't water it too often. Only when the soil's feeling a little dry. The soil right now feels a little moist, so I won't water it today. It is also very easy to propagate. So I have a little propagation going on right here. Since this plant was getting so long, I just cut it. Again, like the pothos and the Monstera Deliciosa, it has its nodes. So this is a node right here. So this one is actually growing a couple roots. Those are 2 other cuttings that I've put into water. And then when these little roots grow, when they get a little longer, or way longer actually, I'm gonna wait a while because I don't want them to die, I will plant them right back in to this pot. So this plant can just be a little bit more luscious, and I'm planning to have some of them trail down and then some of them trail up. My 4th favorite plant has got to be the string of hearts, also known as Ceropegia woodii. I might be butchering that pronunciation, but everyone knows it as the string of hearts. And this is what the string of hearts looks like. I bought this plant off of like an Instagram store or something like that, and then they delivered it to my house. I believe it's called Green Botanicals, but when I bought it, it was not this long. It has just grown, and I've also been able to propagate this one. So this plant, I water it probably once every 2 weeks, sometimes once every 3 weeks. This is more of a succulent type plant, so it does not need a lot of watering. So this plant can also be propagated, especially since it grows so much. So you can just cut here, here, and then where the little hearts are those are the places where the nodes actually are. So you can put that into water, and then when you put those into water, it will grow its own little roots. So this is a string of hearts propagation that I have going on, and the roots are growing. I'm a little bit nervous for potting them up because this is my first time, and I've heard that the roots should be pretty long before potting them up. All right, so for my 5th favorite plant, my 5th final favorite plant has to be the Wandering Jew, also known as the Transcantia zebrina. I might be butchering that as well. So it is this plant right here. I just have it hanging by my kitchen, and it is so beautiful. It trails down. It kind of grows crazy, and you kind of have to like cut it back so it doesn't grow all over the place. But this plant is so pretty. Like, I don't know if you can tell in the video, but the leaves shimmer in the sunlight, and it's purple. I don't even like the color purple, but I like the purple on this plant. It just brings more color into the house. So this plant as well is super easy to propagate. To propagate this one, you literally just cut the stems that look ugly. So, for example, and now I'm gonna cut this leaf off because I don't want the little leaf to rot. So now I can either put this in water and let roots form, or I can put it directly into soil. So the node is this little bulbous part right here. I've tried water propagating, it seems to work, but to be honest, soil propagating works just as well, and I don't have to transfer it from the water to the soil, so I'm just going to put it directly into soil. So I just stick my finger in, make a little hole, put this in, and then I make sure to water it. So when I soil propagate, I don't water it all the way through. I just use a spray bottle because there are no roots all the way through. So I just water the soil on the surface. So if you are propagating with soil, you want to make sure you spray your plant probably every single day, just a little in the beginning because you want those roots to form. So since a lot of this plant I actually soil propagated, I'm just going to make sure to spray it on top. But to be honest, for other plants that are not propagated, you don't want to just spray the top because you want the roots on the bottom to absorb the water. But this one, since I know it doesn't have roots on the bottom, I'm just spraying the surface. Let's talk about watering. So there are 2 ways that I water my plants, and if I get bored of one way, then I start to do the other way. So the first way is to water it from the top. So pouring water into the top of the plant. The key is that you want the water to drain out from the bottom. You want the water to drip down, and you keep watering it until there's no more water dripping down. The second way you can water it is putting your plant on a saucer and then pouring water into the saucer. So pouring water into here and then letting the plant drink the water. I actually do this pretty often because I don't know if it's possible to overwater the plant if you bottom water it this way. So sometimes I just put water in the saucer, put the plant on, and then if the plant is thirsty, it will drink the water. If it's not thirsty, it won't drink the water, and I'll just throw the water out. So if you are bad at watering, you could get a moisture meter and you put this thing into your soil and it basically tells you when you have to water it. If you want your plants to live and you don't want them to get root rot, I recommend having your plant in a pot with drainage holes. So I have it in this pot which has drainage holes, but then I also have it in a bigger decorative pot. If you don't have drainage holes, the roots of your plants will rot in water and your plants will die. So don't do that. Okay, let's talk about soil and fertilizing very quick. So when I first got into plants, to be honest, like before I was really into plants and I just had some plants, they would sometimes die. And I think it's because I didn't feed them. Like, why would you need to feed a plant? Well, you do need to feed a plant. It needs food, it needs nutrients like a human. So it can get its nutrients from the soil. So I just use indoor potting mix. So I go to the store, look for indoor potting mix, and this seems to work. Another thing that I add to my soil that I have gotten from a lot of YouTube recommendations is this thing called perlite. It increases the drainage of the soil. I don't know, I just mix some of this powdery stuff into the soil and it works. So that's something I would recommend getting because it's been working for me. And then with fertilizer, I literally just get indoor plant food from the plant store, Home Depot, Lowe's, any nursery. I only feed them when I see that they're growing. So if they're not growing, if they're just there and not getting any longer or anything, I don't feed them. But if I see that they are actively growing, actively putting out new leaves, then I will feed them. But you don't want to give them too much food. It could be toxic, I believe. Something that I did once was you could put banana peels, like after you're done eating your bananas, into a jar, fill it with water, and then use that banana water to feed your plants. So I actually did that once and it was free plant food. But one of my plants did grow some mushrooms. I kind of stopped using the banana water as fertilizer because I didn't want any more mushrooms growing. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching this random video. If you liked it at all, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, if you own one of these plants, please let me know in the comments down below because we could trade plants. All right, thank you guys so much. See you guys in the next video. Bye.